The line of Adam has filled the earth, and the earth has filled with something else. Generations after the garden, the world is crowded and loud and going wrong, and heaven looks down and speaks.
My spirit will not strive with man forever.
And then the verdict, the saddest sentence in the Bible so far. The Lord saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of man's heart was continually only evil. Read it slowly, because it leaves nothing out. Not some thoughts, every imagination. Not now and then, continually. Not mostly bad, only evil. This is not a report about a handful of criminals. It is a diagnosis of the human heart, and it runs all the way down. The earth was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. Corrupt before God, the rot was happening right in front of him, in the full sight of the one who made it. The first murder, back in Cain's field, has become the air the whole world breathes. Now watch what God feels. The first thing the Bible tells us about how God meets all this evil is not his anger. It is his grief. The Lord was sorry that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him in his heart. This is no cold judge on a high bench. The violence of the world breaks the heart of the God who made it. He is not far off from the pain down here. He feels every blow of it. And out of that grief, not out of temper, comes the terrible decision.
I will destroy man whom I have created from the surface of the ground, man along with animals, creeping things and birds of the sky, for I am sorry that I have made them.
And then, into the dark, one small word turns the whole story. But Noah found favor in the Lord's eyes. Notice the order, because everything hangs on it. Verse 8 says, Noah found favor, found grace, and only after that, in verse 9, does it say Noah was a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, who walked with God. The grace comes first. Noah is not rescued because he is good. He becomes good because he is rescued. That is always the order. Nobody ever earns a place on the ark. They are shown grace, and the grace remakes them. One man, in a drowning world, walks with God, the way Enoch walked before him. So God tells Noah what is coming, and what to build.
I will bring an end to all flesh, for the earth is filled with violence through them. Make a ship of gopher wood, and seal it inside and outside with pitch.
A great ship, 450 feet long, 3 decks high, 1 single door in its side, sealed against the sea. And then the reason it matters.
Even I, will bring the flood of waters on this earth, to destroy all flesh that has the breath of life. But I will establish my covenant with you. You shall come into the ship, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you.
The animals would come 2 by 2, a male and a female of every kind. Life carried through the death. And Noah, who had never seen rain like this, who must have looked like a madman building an ocean ship on dry ground while his neighbors laughed, did the only thing that faith ever does. Thus Noah did. He did all that God commanded him. He built the strange ark of a promise he could not yet see. Then the day came. The Lord said, Come with all of your household into the ship, for I have seen your righteousness before me in this generation. They went in, 2 by 2, and then comes one of the tenderest lines in all of Scripture. Then the Lord shut him in. Noah did not close the door. God did. The same hand that sends the flood reaches out and seals his people safe inside it. And the deep broke open. All the fountains of the great deep burst open, and the sky's windows opened, and it rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. If that sounds like the world coming undone, it is. Remember the very beginning, when God separated the waters above from the waters below and called the dry land up. Now the windows above and the fountains below are thrown open at once, and the waters rush back over everything. This is creation running in reverse, the ordered world sinking back into the deep it was lifted out of. Every living thing on the dry land died. Only Noah was left, and those who were with him in the ship. But look what the water does to the ark. The waters increased and lifted up the ship, and it floated on the surface of the waters. The very flood that drowns the world is the thing that lifts Noah above it. The judgment and the rescue are the same event. The water that is death to everyone outside the door is the water that carries everyone inside it up and over and through. Hold that picture. The people of God lifted up and carried safe on the very judgment that should have sunk them. For 150 days the world is one grey ocean. And then the hinge of the whole story, 4 quiet words. God remembered Noah. Not that God had forgotten. In the Bible, to remember is to act on your promise. God turns. He sends a wind to pass over the waters. The same wind, the same Spirit, that hovered over the waters at the dawn of the world, and a new world begins to rise out of the drowned one. The ark comes to rest on the mountains, and the tops of the hills appear. Then Noah sends out a dove. The first time she finds no place to set her foot, and comes back to his hand. He waits 7 days and sends her again. The dove came back to him at evening, and behold, in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf, a green leaf, growing again, out of a world that had drowned. So Noah knew the waters were gone. He waits and sends her once more, and this time she does not return. The dove has found a home. The earth is alive again. Remember that dove. It comes back at the far end of the Bible. Noah steps out onto a washed and silent earth, and the first thing he does is worship. Noah built an altar to the Lord and offered burnt offerings on it. And God blesses him as he blessed the world at the start. Be fruitful and multiply. And he sets a new guard around human life. Whoever sheds man's blood, his blood will be shed by man, for God made man in his own image. The blood that cried out from the ground in Cain's day is precious now, hedged about with law, because every human being still carries the image of God. And then God says the deepest thing in the whole flood.
I will not again curse the ground any more for man's sake, because the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. I will never again strike every living thing, as I have done.
Stop and hear what God just said, because it is astonishing. Go back to the beginning. Why did the flood come? Because every imagination of man's heart was only evil. Now why will God never send a flood again? For the exact same reason. Because the imagination of man's heart is evil from his youth. The same sentence is the cause of the judgment and the cause of the mercy. So what changed? Not the human heart. The flood washed the whole world, and it did not wash one human heart clean, not even Noah's. Water can drown the violent, but it cannot reach the thing that makes them violent, because that thing lives inside every one of us. God sees it plainly. To burn all the evil out of the world by force, he would have to destroy every last person, because there is no one clean. So that day God lays the flood down forever. He decides that the evil in the human heart will not be answered by water. It will have to be answered some other way. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night will not cease. A promise of patience to a world that has not earned a single sunrise. And then God gives a sign, and the sign is a weapon.
I set my rainbow in the cloud, and it will be a sign of a covenant between me and the earth. When I bring a cloud over the earth, The rainbow will be seen in the cloud. And I will remember my covenant. And the waters will never again become a flood to destroy all flesh.
The word there for rainbow is the ordinary word for a battle bow, a bow of war. After the great storm of judgment, God hangs up his weapon in the sky. And see which way a hung-up bow points. It points up, away from the earth, away from us, back toward heaven, toward God himself. God takes the weapon of his own justice and turns it away from the world and toward his own heart. And notice where the bow appears, exactly where the sun breaks into the storm, where the light meets the dark cloud, where mercy and judgment touch. One day on a hill, the storm of God's justice and the love of God's own Son would meet in a single place, and that would be the true bow in the cloud. He would take the lightning so we could keep the light. He would go down under the waters of judgment, all the way under, so that everyone holding on to him would be lifted up and carried over, the way an ark is lifted. That is why, centuries later, a man stepped down into a river to be baptized, and the heavens opened, and the Spirit came down on him like a dove. He walked up out of that water and set his face toward the real flood, the judgment every human heart had earned, and he let it close over his own head so that it would never close over ours. There is still only one ark. There is still only one door. But the door is no longer a plank of wood. It is a person, and his arms are open. The bow is still hanging in the sky. It is still pointed away from you and up at God. The waters will not come again. The only question the rainbow leaves you holding is the same one Noah's neighbors had 40 days to answer, and the same one you have now. The door is open. Are you inside?